Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Professor Apurvanand, for your kind words. At the outset, I would like to congratulate Advocate P.I. Jose for this important and valuable contribution of yours to our nation, which is timely and has the potential to make the people in power and common citizens pause from all the frenzy, to reflect on the idea of India, how to build back our beloved nation, and make genuine efforts to save the soul of our country through collective dialogue, action, and resolve. Hindutva palm branches and the Christian resolve is an erudite work, beautifully written with great courage, strong conviction, and deep commitment, arising out of the progressive Christian faith, which is ecumenical, a faith that stands for human rights and just peace. A fantastic book and the first of its kind, the book is a clarion call to redeem our nation and to restore the richness of our spiritual heritage. The book is highly informative and extremely interesting. The book is a prophetic voice speaking truth to the power and very fearlessly. The narratives in the book bring painful memories of the horror and violence ordinary citizens, members of minority communities, journalists, activists, and vulnerable groups like Dalits and Adivasis underwent due to the biased policies and vindictive action by the ruling party in the last 10 years. Civil society was on the streets every other day during this period, countering and protesting, as almost all policies and actions were anti-people, against minorities, and against those who spoke truth to the power and stood for justice. Farmers were in streets on protest for more than a year, as well as the citizens who were against CAA NRC. Though the book evokes strong emotions and the graphics chilling, the book is an absolute delight to read. As the author's central message for the reader is Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, taken from the Hindu scripture Maha Upanishad, chapter 6. One is a relative, the other a stranger, says the small-minded. The entire world is a family, lives the magnanimous. Unlike the Christian Zionist, for who Israelites are chosen people and the genocide in Gaza a direct product of this right-wing Christianity, the book stands with and for the violated, oppressed, and the voiceless in our Indian context and globally. The book is for all those who truly love India and who like to continuously work to build an inclusive India as visualized and designed by our foreparents, a secular, socialist, democratic republic. Though the title of the book sounds like it is about Hindutva and Christianity, the book is much more than that. A thorough reading of the book brings out clearly the book is all about upholding our constitution and standing up with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which has a strong faith imperative. The book calls out to citizens to join the struggle for justice and the steps we need to take to save democracy and the secular fabric of our nation, which is in danger today. Friends, we are living in a polarized country. The opening chapter, Militating Truth, India Today, is a detailed account of the BJP government's decade-long tyrannical rule from 2014 to 24. Written like a diary, it captures every incident from across the length and breadth of the country. The Christian case against continued attack on the community across the country with a detailed list of atrocities and the writ petition filed by Bishop Peter Machado and other Christian leaders in 2022. The Manipur violence, atrocity against scheduled caste, Kandhamal communal violence against Christians and the compensation case, Gujarat violence, denial of FCRA for deserving Christian organization and other NGOs working on rights, Ram Mandir dispute, economic weaker section law and dismemberment of OBCs, and many other violence against minorities and others are vividly captured in the book. The book has its wry humor as the author begins by reminding the readers of the irony how the anti-corruption crusader, Mr. Arvind Kejriwal and his team, who paved the way for the BJP to come into the power 10 years ago, was in jail allegedly on corruption charges as the CM of Delhi 10 years later. The book also captures governments before 2014, since independence, and especially after 1964, and talks about the failure of leadership of every government. The author highlights how leadership across party lines failed in setting the fault lines and in fact contributed towards it, which has made our country where it is today. Highlighting reversal of constitutional ideas, the Bring books a balanced view and is critical of all parties. The author is also critical of some of the Supreme Court judgments and highlights judicial errors and says various commissions that has been set up has not brought the desired change. Many times, the prosecution fails to prove the guilt of the offenders in high-profile cases, and big leaders walk out with no punishment. The word Hindutva is used and understood as a synonym of Indianization, said the Supreme Court in 1995. Such a reasoning is one of the reasons many believe Hindutva has taken deep root today. The book brings out that BJP's triumph is on an unapologetic identity based on nationalism, patriotism, and exploitation of Hindu sentiments. The book highlights how the BJP has caused irreparable damage to the country by polluting young minds with division based on caste and creed through hate speeches and violence. Here I want to highlight its similarity to white supremacy and the right-wing Christianity of the US and the West, which we denounce, and we cannot ignore the damage it is causing to the humanity. We need to note Hinduism not to be equated with Hindutva. Not in my name is the slogan of the majority Hindus, and most Hindus do not subscribe to the hate and violent ideology of Hindutva to be associated with Hinduism. The author's excellent exposition of caste and religion, patriarchy though is not articulated much in the book, and its intersections are very impressive. Considerable section of the book is dedicated to explain how caste and political nexus operates and how this has kept a major section of the citizen disempowered in the name of religion. The author boldly explains of the role of Hindutva and Savarna politics in doing so. I would like to bring a personal reflection here quickly. Our government wants to make India a developed nation by 2047, and India is a signatory to UN SDG 2030. The motto of UN SDG is to leave no one behind. How can we hate minority religious communities, continue caste privileges, and not leave anyone behind? The period of accomplishment of SDGs 2015 to 2030, we have crossed half mark and BJP has been in power. How are we going to achieve this UN SDG 2030? On religion, the book says, religious conflicts are zero-sum game and repeatedly brings up the graded inequality. The author notes, faiths and rights should be mutually reinforcing spheres. The book is appreciative of religion, as religion has long played a significant role in shaping human societies and influencing individual behavior. The book goes on to say, while religion has sometimes been associated with conflict and division, it also possesses the potential to foster human rights and international peace. By harnessing the moral principles, teachings, and communal structures inherent in the religious tradition, it is possible to leverage religion as a force for positive change on a global scale. I like to underline from the book, religious organizations are rich source of peace service. They can function as powerful warrant for social tolerance, a democratic pluralism, and constructive conflict management. They are peace builders and peacemakers. UN has a special space for faith-based organization in its structure. On the challenges before Indian Christian, he quotes Article 25 to 28 and how the concept of secularism is embedded in our constitution. Concept of secularism is one of the facets of equality and so entitled to freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, practice, and propagate religion. The book says the real fight and conflict is between the Varna system and the constitution. What is best for humanity's good? The author asks. A society based on culture of equality or one based on graded inequality? Buddha said to identify yourself with others, as the so I, as I so they. Equality in front of law and constitution is an empowering tool. As opposed to the idea of every human being as the abode of the divine life and the idea of equal human rights for all, neither Arthashastra nor Manusmriti will pass the sophisticated test about truth and dharma, the author concludes. The book is highly backed with evidence and proof, a good reference book for any researcher on India, its religion, caste, politics, and intersection. Appendix makes useful reading as much of the main part of the book, as much as the main part of the book. References, footnotes, case stories, letters, and judges' case files are all add value to the book. As a feminist, my important critique and missing piece in the book is how patriarchy and politics is played on women and women's body is missing from the book. Rapes and violence against women confirm this. I'm a strong advocate of feminist leadership in all spheres of governance, as it is one of the best solutions to rebuild a beautiful India and a just and peaceful world. I recommend this book to all those who hold the idea of India close to their hearts. The book has the capacity to steer the country into freedom, which we are all longing for, and away from the current political climate of animosity and suspicion. Thank you so much.